Glad to have you with us here on Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. On today's show, we're talking all things NFC West. We'll go through every team and give predictions for their record for the upcoming season, as well as our superlatives as well for the Seattle Seahawks, the San Francisco 49ers, Arizona Cardinals, and the Los Angeles Rams. We will break it all down for you coming up in just a matter of moments. Before we do, if you want the Seahawks to win the NFC West division title, like the video. Don't jinx it. Do your part. I've been told if we get 1,000 likes on today's video, that guarantees a division title for the Seahawks. So don't need to gamble on that. Just go ahead and do your part. Like the video. We'll get started with today's show. Let's begin with San Francisco. The Niners, and I know some people aren't going to like me saying this, but hey, we tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear on this show. We keep it 100 around here. The Niners are most likely to win the NFC West and contend for the Super Bowl in this division. I am of the belief that the Niners have done enough over the last few seasons that they are the favorites until otherwise, until somebody takes them down. And believe me, I hope and pray the Seahawks do find a way to take the Niners down. But until it happens, you got to go through the champs before you beat the champs. They're still the team to beat and still a Super Bowl contender and one of the top teams in the NFC. Now, this offseason, they've gone through some big changes, right? Leonard Floyd, they signed. Very good signing. After losing Eric Armstead to the Jacksonville Jaguars, they lost Chase Young, who joined them at the trade deadline. He went to New Orleans. Javon Kinlaw is gone now. He's with the New York Jets. I think that was a big loss for the San Francisco 49ers to lose Kinlaw. And then the receiving situation is pretty fascinating with San Francisco as well, as this team has to figure out what they're going to do with Debo as well as Ayuk long-term. Are they going to be able to pay both guys? Is one guy going to have to be traded? They did just pay Juwan Jennings. But then you also have Ricky Pearsall, who they drafted from Florida, who I think is going to be the long-term replacement for either Debo or Ayuk, whoever they ultimately move on from. I wasn't a huge fan of Pearsall as a prospect coming out of Florida. If the Niners want him, by all means, go ahead and have him as far as I'm concerned. But nonetheless, with that said, you look at this Niners team, even with all these changes, they still have a dynamic offense. We mentioned the receivers. Christian McCaffrey's still there, a really good offensive line led by one of the best offensive tackles of all time, and Trent Williams there. In the defense, of course, with Bosa and company, they're going to be stacked. But for me, what I'm watching for with the San Francisco 49ers is the quarterback play. Brock Purdy enters year number 3 off of a very good campaign in 2023 where he had 31 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, threw for over 4,000 yards, a completion percentage of over 69%. Purdy was fantastic last year, no question about it. But how much of that has to do with the talent around him? When we saw a lot of his guys get hurt, they went on a 3-game losing streak, and he did not perform well. Even with that being said, even with some doubts still on Brock Purdy, this is still a very good 49ers team. I hate to admit it, but I think they look like a 13-win football team with maybe the best record in the NFC once again. They are still the team to beat. We'll see how far Brock Purdy can take them, but the Niners are a force to be reckoned with, and they're going to be a problem, and they have been a problem for the Seahawks over the last few years. Which quarterback would you rather roll with? Would you go with Brock Purdy coming off that big year in San Francisco, or are you riding or dying with Geno Smith? Which quarterback would you rather have right now? Weigh in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Type Purdy for Brock Purdy. Type Geno for Geno Smith. Let me know which quarterback you're riding or dying with in the comment section below. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose 2 more players in any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points, maybe it's rebounds in basketball, goals in hockey, home runs in baseball. You can mix and match different sports. And I'm looking ahead to the start of the NFL season. I got our guy DK Metcalf to have a big year, over 1,025.5 receiving yards. Also got Lamar Jackson of the Ravens to have over 3,600.5 passing yards. If both those hit, we put $20 down. Turns into $60 on Prize Picks. Get a $100 deposit match on your first deposit. Play along with us at Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS for that $100 deposit match. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams. And I think when you look at this Rams team, they're most likely to face limitations as they dealt with the biggest loss of any team in the division, losing Aaron Donald, the greatest defensive tackle in the history of the game of football. And I don't need to tell you, you guys saw firsthand just how much Aaron Donald dominated over the last decade plus with the LA Rams. And I am thrilled to see him gone and not in this division anymore, that the Seahawks don't have to deal with him as he retired from the league. And replacing him is going to be extremely difficult to do because you think about it, Aaron Donald covered for a lot of the flaws of this Rams defense as a whole. With all the double teams that he took on, you can't just replace that overnight. And so it's going to be almost a culture shock, a shot to the system, if you will, for this Rams team not having Aaron Donald around, and how they adjust. I don't think this is going to be easy just overnight without having a great player like Aaron Donald in the fold for this Rams team. They did sign Jonah Jackson to their offensive line from Detroit, so that'll help things out on the O-line. You did lose Jonah Williams as well. On top of Aaron Donald retiring, Jonah Williams joined the Minnesota Vikings. And then you signed Tre'Davious White, the corner from the Buffalo Bills, so that'll help out the Rams secondary. And they at least put the effort in trying to solidify this pass rush as they drafted Jared Verse. He was kind of the highlight of this draft for this Rams team from Florida State. In addition to some of the other changes they made, you look at the pass rushers the Rams have now, and let's be honest with you folks. Bobby Brown, Kobe Turner, Byron Young, these guys, this is not going to be enough. The Rams defense, although they have some nice young pieces, I think Jared Verse can be a good player, just as one example here, it's not going to be the same not having Aaron Donald there. I think the Rams, even though some people are talking about this team being a playoff team and winning 10-plus games again this year, I just don't see that. I think that losing Aaron Donald, on top of Matthew Stafford being another year older and the injury issues he's dealt with, same for Cooper Kupp and all that, I think you're looking at the Rams being about a 9-8 team realistically heading into this 2024 campaign. I need to see it from them of what they are without Aaron Donald, and just on paper, it doesn't look pretty for this Rams team going forward. We'll talk about the Cardinals next, then talk about your Seahawks. But before we do, for the best Seahawks coverage you won't find anywhere else, you got to subscribe to Seahawks Today. We are bringing you live shows not once but twice a week for the rest of the offseason, doing Madden Sims for the entire Seahawks season. So you want to be tuned in for that. We're also bringing you breaking news anytime the Seahawks make any changes to the roster. We're going to be the ones to talk about it here on the channel. Never miss a moment. Lock us in. Subscribe now for free to the latest happenings on your favorite team. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. Subscribe now. You'll be glad you did. The Arizona Cardinals. I think this team will finish in last place with a young roster. I do think that what we've seen with the changes the Cardinals have made, the investments, they're headed in the right direction. But there is still a long ways to go for Arizona beyond this year. This is a rebuilding project there for Jonathan Gannon in this Cardinals team. Kyler Murray should be his first year back fully healthy after missing much of last year, coming back from that ACL. And they were very active this offseason. They signed Sean Murphy-Bunting, the corner from the Tennessee Titans. That'll help out that defense. They bring in Jonah Williams from the Cincinnati Bengals, which will provide some much-needed protection on that offensive line for Kyler Murray. You bring in Mack Wilson from the New England Patriots, a reinforcement to the defense at the linebacker position, a good find there. But you lost Marquise Brown. Even with that said, though, I don't think the Marquise Brown loss is a big deal because he underperformed compared to what he was doing in Baltimore because you drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr., a generational talent. I believe he was one of, if not the best players in this entire draft. And I got to tell you, I am not looking forward to facing Marvin Harrison Jr. twice a year for the next decade or so, because what we saw out of Marvin Harrison Jr. at Ohio State was nothing short of spectacular. over 1,200 yards in each of his last 2 seasons, 14 touchdowns in both years. I mean, just built in a lab, right? And I think he's ultimately going to be better than his father. He's a more talented prospect than what his father was coming out. So Marvin Harrison Jr., some of the improvements they've made, the Cardinals are heading in the right direction, but they still got a ways to go. And I'm not sold that Kyler Murray is going to play to his full potential. I don't know if he's going to be the same quarterback he was prior to that ACL injury. I think the Cardinals are looking at it being about a 6-11 team. With that said, Kyler Murray's got a big contract. Is this it for Kyler Murray? Is this going to be the last go-round? Is this the last year we see Kyler Murray in Arizona, in the NFC West? What do you guys think? Y for yes, in for no. Is this it for Kyler Murray with the Cardinals? Or is he going to have a bounce-back season this year and stick around for a while? Let us know what you think. Y for yes, in for no. The Seattle Seahawks, the team we've all been waiting for. This team is most likely to find a new identity and build for the future. This Seahawks team, I don't think, is a Super Bowl contending team heading into 2024, but this team is headed in the right direction, led by their new head coach, Mike Macdonald. They made some massive changes this year. Bobby Wagner is gone for the second time in his career. He's off to Washington. Jordan Brooks is also gone as well, and that's not even to mention losing Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams and others. They've completely retooled this defense, and part of this new identity is an emphasis on coverage linebackers, bringing in guys like Terrell Dodson, Jerome Baker to take the void left by Wagner and Brooks. Both of these guys, a big emphasis as coverage linebackers, comparably speaking to what we saw from Wagner and Brooks. You are going to be asked to do more in coverage than you were from these previous 2 linebackers were there. So that's a change in philosophy, a change in mentality. And you know, we heard Mike Macdonald say that they want to build a wall on this defensive line. And that starts with their selection of Byron Murphy, who was the highlight of this year's draft for the Seattle Seahawks. This defense is going to change a bit. We've heard Mike Macdonald is going to mix things up with the 3-4 and the 4-3 schemes defensively. And they're going to be a defensive-first football team. Mike Macdonald is coming into this Seahawks organization with a little bit of tough love, right? He's a player's coach, but he's not afraid to get on to these guys, and that's different comparatively speaking to how Pete Carroll did things. And the offense is going to look different too, with Ryan Grubb as the offensive coordinator running this air raid scheme. I'm very excited. I'm optimistic, but there's going to be some growing pains along the way. This is not going to be perfect for this Seahawks team of these changes they're going to go through. Year one, I think you're looking at about a 9-win season for Seattle, contending for a playoff spot, for one of those wild card spots. I don't think they'll win the division, but I think that they'll lay the groundwork for 2025 and beyond. I think you're going to like what you see from Mike Macdonald of setting up this team for success for the future. 2024 is about laying the foundation. 2025 and beyond is going to be about competing for championships. What will the Seahawks' final record be? You heard me say I think it's 9-8 this year. What do you guys think? Weigh in the comment section and let us know. If you enjoyed today's show, you want an NFC West Division title, like the video, do your part. Appreciate you joining us. We'll see you next time right here on Seahawks Today.